Hi, this is Azad Ahmed, and I'm going to be discussing about a topic in the LLQP, which is about disability. This is for the life insurance course in Canada, the LLQP exam. So we're going to be talking about disability for both individual and also for group plans. In case of disability, it's a little different for individual and group plans. Some of the terminology is similar, some of it is different. So one concept is that of the elimination period, which is also known as the waiting period. In the case of the elimination period, this is the time during which the person has to wait before they start getting the payments. So if a person becomes disabled, the elimination period could be for suppose 3 months, and during that 3 months or 6 months, that person will not be getting any disability payments. So that is the waiting period, or also called as the elimination period. And this is also the same concept in the group plan. There will be an elimination period. So this is to reduce the chances of a person just going, again and again on disability for a short term. Although most group plans, they do have short-term disability, and for there the waiting period is very short. It could be 1 day, it could be 1 week or so. Also, the other concept you need to know is that of the qualification period. In the individual policy, the qualification period is the time during when the person has to be disabled, and then if he or she goes back to work for part-time, then they will be also entitled to the partial or residual disability, which means that basically once the person has gone through the waiting period, the person is disabled, the person has got the income, has got the disability payments for a certain time period. So the person is disabled. Let's suppose in this, if the qualification period is 6 months, so once the person has completed the 6 months qualification period, he or she will then be entitled to receive the disability payments if they happen to go back to work part-time, right? So in this case, we suppose that this person he has been working full-time before the disability, and now he goes back to work part-time, and he will be then qualified to get what is called the residual or partial disability. And we will discuss about that in more detail, but right now you just need to keep that in mind, that this is the qualification period, and the individual policy is for them to qualify for the case of the partial disability. In the case of the group policy, the qualification period means a little bit different. In the qualification period, it is a time period which the person has to wait before they enroll into the plan. So the person might have some pre-existing conditions. Usually in the group plans, the person is not evaluated in terms of medical situation. So in order to reduce the risk, the person, if he's actively working, it means he's healthy. So the group plan there will be a waiting period. This waiting period will be called the qualification period before he can enroll for the disability plan. So after that, once he is enrolled, then if he becomes disabled, there might be a waiting period before he gets the disability payment. So in this case, this is also called the probationary period. In this case, the qualification period is also known as the probationary period in the case of the group plans. So in this case, the insurer must factors in different things when they are setting amount how much the benefit is going to be. So one, they will look at the level of income that the person is currently receiving, and also the income that the person will continue to have once they become disabled. That is also something they will look at, and the other potential sources of disability benefits. So let's talk a little bit about presumptive disability. Presumptive disability is basically the concept that if a person becomes unable to work due to blindness loss of speech or hearing. If the person suffers one or more of these problems, that they are severely disabled, that is, they are unable to do their work, whether they are able to do their work, it does not matter. They are said to be presumed disabled, presumptive disability. They will be getting the full benefits. So if there's a loss of sight, loss of speech, hearing, loss of 2 limbs, that will mean they are now in presumptive disability. So let's talk a little bit about partial and residual disability. So partial disability, so we said if the person goes back to work part-time, he or she will be entitled to some payments. So if the person is, so partial disability is based on tasks. So the company will look at how many tasks the person did before he was disabled and how much tasks they're able to do after disability. So in that case, then the payment will be dependent on the number of tasks. This is usually used for small business owners. So that is one type of benefit that the person can get if he is able to recover and go back to work part-time. The second, so it's either partial or it's residual disability. Residual disability is more common for the salaried person, and in that case, how that is calculated, let's take an example. In this case, for example, Eugene was earning $5,000 before disability, and his disability benefit is $3,000. Okay, so Eugene became disabled, he got $3,000 per month, and suppose 3 months is the waiting period. So he had to wait for 3 months before he got his payments, and let's suppose 6 months is the qualification period. So he was disabled for 6 months, he got his payments for 6 months, he was fully disabled and he was not able to work. So then he went back to work part-time. So now he has been able to cover the qualification period. If he had gone back to work after 5 months, he will not be entitled to any partial disability, any residual benefits. So in this case, let's suppose he has completed the waiting period and the qualification period and gone back to work. Now he is earning only $1,500 per month. Is his part-time income now because of his disability. Now the question is, how much disability payment is he going to get? He obviously is not going to get $3,000. If he gets $3,000, $4,500, then that will not be a proper way of giving him an incentive for his work. So in this case, the company will calculate 2 things. One, they will calculate percentage of income loss. So we calculate the percentage of income loss. How we do that is we say $5,000 minus $1,500 divided by 5,000. So that means 3,500 divided by 5,000 means 70% is the loss. So this person has lost 70% of his income before disability. So they will say, okay, no problem, so we are going to pay him disability. Payment will now be 70%. Okay, so that is the loss, so he will now be getting 70%. So by 70% we mean that he will now be getting 70% of $3,000, which is $2,100 per month. So he will now be getting $2,100 as a disability payment plus the $1,500 that he's working part-time. So this is a more equitable way of determining his income. So this is, and there's also an 80-20 rule, which means that if he has, so this was 70%. If he had lost, suppose 85% of his income, he would have been considered to have lost 100%. So he will still get the full disability payment. And if he lost only 20% of his income, or suppose he lost only 15% of his income, then he is considered to have lost nothing and he will not get any payment. So basically the concept is that he should have lost his income from between 20% to 80%. So then he will be entitled to get the reduced disability payment. Otherwise he will, if it's more, then he will get 100%. So this concept is also called the 80-20 rule, and that is also a part of the disability concept there. So hopefully this disability concept will be a little bit more clear for you. My name is Azad Ahmed, and I am a tutor and teacher for the LLQP and CSC and PFP. Have an excellent day and see you soon. Bye for now.